Hello. Thank you, Dennis, for the invitation. It's quite a pleasure to be here, and I had the feeling that I've learned who I am and learn from you all the time, and I'm quite happy to be after both Mike and Jan, because I think I can skip some of my points that you have already done. Yes, this is a pointer. So yes, as said, I work in Aalto University as an associate professor, and alongside with my academic work, I work in my own small office with only me, and then together with my two colleagues, Saija Hollmén and Helena Sandman. Sometimes I have the feeling that this is just kind of a hobby on the side, but I think that the dialogue between practice and my teaching is, for me, fruitful, and I couldn't teach without the practice. I couldn't practice without the teaching. I've been fortunate to work both as an architect and as a teacher in very many parts of the world. And today I will show only 5 projects, but they are really different from each other. But what they have in common is that I always start from the site, from the materials and from what's already there. And I get inspiration from the vernacular, not in a nostalgic way, more like the vernacular would be my teacher, there would be a continuing of the wisdom of construction. So 3 of the projects will be in Finland, 2 of them on the African continent, one in Tanzania and one in Senegal. The first one I did as a student, and I think it gave me the language I have used ever since, even though these projects are very different from each other. I was asked to do holiday cottages, cabins, very small ones. 3 of them were built. I wanted to use only local materials. Straw bales were on the site. It's built on a farm. Local wood was available, local clay, local cow dung, local sand. We did some tar for the project. We did wooden joints, and we were also and in the design, I always want to start with the human scale and the functions, so that there's no extra in a wrong way. Extra should be somehow spatial luxury, not like something that is built without a reason. So I started with just the functions in the building, in the plan. And we were a group of amateurs building it. I think that was also one of my important school of architecture, so I understood how it is, what it was built of, how it was built, and could see the result within. It was built in a couple of weeks, so it was a very quick process, and it still stands there with the clay cladding, and the windows are from a local factory that was torn down, and we did the windows and doors out of these windows, and they were fixed, and it was a bit of starting from a Lego. I had the size of the straw bales, the size of the windows, and then what can you come out with? And then I was able to play with the heavy light darkness in a very small scale, but in a for me, it was a way of trying out what architecture can be about and what I find important in it. Another project, an early one, was a women's center in Rufisque, Senegal, that I did together with Saija and Helena. After that, we also founded an NGO that do fundraising for low resource setting projects, and we do the fundraising ourselves for projects throughout the global south. But this was where we started. We were still also their students when we started, but we found the project so interesting, so we started to do the fundraising. We went back to Senegal several times for longer time periods. We tried to understand and this goes for wherever in the world we are working, also in Finland. Try to understand how the people live, their history, their building tradition. Try to understand how the infrastructure works, how here in this situation the black water goes to the sea, not very ecological nor sustainable, but this is how it was structured, so we did have to understand these canals. We were, when we started, 3 fairly young female architects in a Muslim country, of course, and we also came with the money for the project. Also the locals paid a lot and did a lot of work within it, but of course there were culture crashes, but perhaps less than you could think of. But what we want to understand when we design is to understand the life. I also like the earlier presentation today when we were talking about that everything starts from the humans and from the human rituals, and you have to understand those rituals to be able to design. And we also tried to understand where these women came from. Most of them came from the countryside and moved to the city. So we went out to the countryside to see how they lived. And here is a traditional Wolof village, or house as they call. It has a wall around. There's a small wall preventing so that when you enter you don't see the main courtyard, and there's several backyards with practical use, but this is kind of the main space where to be. We saw the same pattern in the urban landscape, so there's a main courtyard and several backyards. This is our women's center. Here is one of those open canals, and we also found out later why we got this site for free, because it's during the rainy season all of this is wet, so we had to lift up the site quite a lot. But here you can see the plan of our project that has similarities with the local structure. Here is a water post preventing when you enter the space, you don't see the main courtyard immediately. There's several smaller backyards, and the 2 entrances are indirect. We tend to work with models. This model was already quite a big one. We start with smaller ones. We think that's a good way of discussing the project, especially if you don't have a common language, but even if you have, it's to discuss through a space is more fruitful than through drawings, we think. The site was called Guyaldiana. It's a paradise of the baobab, and baobab is a holy tree in Senegal, and we were happy to have a baobab on the site, and it was used as a garbage area before, so they were happy when the center came there, and we still were happy to be able to keep the baobab just next to one of the entrances. As said, both of the entrances are indirect, so you don't see immediately the main courtyard, but it's it's a center of the house, and you can see it from both sides, and we were happy to work in a climate where after 3 years the trees were this big. And the backyards with other activities were also green within 3 years, and there was the greenery being the roof of the courtyard. We worked intensely with the women from the very beginning, and we tried to understand what they were doing, will be doing in the Women's Center, and design spaces accordingly. And they had lots of traditional activities that they wanted to continue with. We designed open air spaces to make food and to have the kindergarten, to have afternoon schools for the girls. And with the materials, we always want to use natural materials if it's possible, and sustainable. They go hand in hand quite often. But in this case, they said there were no local clay that could be used for the walls, and since the biggest cement factory of Western Africa is situated In Rufisk, these blocks are using cement, which we wouldn't like it to be, but that's how it is, and we got it as a donation as well. With the detailing, we try to use we are inspired by the local detailing, and one of the nicest comments we have got from this building that it feels really Senegalese. So these are the claustra, these open ventilation bricks. With the color, we wanted to have, most of the buildings are painted, and we understood later on that's because you have to pay tax if they are painted, but we wanted to have the colors within the courtyard and no colors from the outside, but the women said that if you don't have money for the colors, we will pay for it, and we understood that since this is the only public building in the area, it's really important that it has that feature. And the color is traditional, it's iron oxide, it's the same kind of that we use in the Nordic country, the red color, but here it's mixed with lime, so it becomes a bit pinkish. And it's called the Red House. That's as one of the women will tell later, it's the address. All of the details are made locally. This just 50 meters from the site of recycled metal used as blackboards immediately after the building was opened. In the roof detailing, we wanted to combine two things that we have understood, that during the rainy season they want to have corrugated iron, and that's also a mark of having money. So when it's raining, it's of course good to have it, but it gets extremely hot. So we combined the corrugated iron with the straw mat that is insulating and also giving a good acoustics, and it's ventilated in between, so there's air moving here, and actually it creates both acoustically and also heat-wise. It's quite pleasantly cool inside these spaces. Recycling is something that in poor conditions, say we was in Finland after the war, you didn't like to recycle even if you had to. Nowadays it's perhaps something fancy in the Western world, but in many parts of the world it's something you have to do. We wanted to show that it's possible to recycle in a way that you can appreciate it. These are where these ventilation openings in the bathrooms, and then we have these beer bottles that we used as glass bricks. We made them into two. Of course, we didn't really reflect on the fact that the contractor was a severe Muslim, so there was some problems along the way, but yep, at the end they all laughed and they worked fine. Here you can see the glass bottles in the night time. And at the opening party we understood that this will become what we wanted, that we are not needed anymore and it will be in use. Very many of these kind of projects have a good thought behind, but then they are, and architects take glossy picture and they leave and they stand empty. And our main philosophy is the fact that a building is only alive when it's in use, and these kind of projects, there's no need for us going all the way to in this case, Senegal, if the building won't be taken care of. So I will show a short film that was made 15 years after the center was started, opened.
maa ngi ciy sant yàlla ndax depuis ba ma fi nekk ba léegi maa ngi fi bokk mu wërsëg. maa ngi tudd Kati Sow. aw ma jëkkër dafa décédé. am naa doom 8 gos. am naa juróom fukki at ak juróom benn jàmm ak salaam bu ñu xëyee daal 6 heures du matin ñun ñoo fi ñëwatoo ñun ñi dëkk quartier Guet Ndar ñun ñooy bokk heure parce que dañuy xaarante 6 heures la ñuy agsi fii 6 heures du matin ba 6 heures du soir.
am naa borom kër am naa juróom-ñetti bant sama rôle mooy su fekkente ne commande dafa am bu ñu defaree ba pare waaw am na lu mu yokk sama koom-koom ndax lu ma fi jëlee dinaa ko jël bokk na ak sama njaboot xëy na nag ba ñu commencé metti woon na maa ngi fi sant yàlla alhamdulilah sama yaram su ma ñëwee fii liggéey moo ma gën a mu toog sa kër dara lu waxtaan si barab bi ñu ko tabax bu baax la rafetoo dëgg yàlla ndax dañuy gis ñoo xamante ne dañ koy gis si internet rek fexe ba ñëw fi di laaj fan ñu kër gi xonq nekk te mooy adresse la kon li mu meloon rek gis nga ñoom bu continuer noonu parce que lu mooy adresse la.
J'ai 59 ans. Sama rôle ci centre bi mooy secrétaire général. En tant que secrétaire général, ñu ngi liggéey bi jaarul yoon man dama koy suivre di ko seet. Sama liggéey ci centre bi am naa fi jàngat bu baax a baax a baax. ndax su ma xëyee suba ñëw liggéey si dinaa sawar pour liggéey sama yaram daal dinaa sentir ne sama yaram sawar na.
ñu yëgal ñu si kaw dindi ñu li nga xam ne mooy ardoise defal kuréel yu ko duñu si ak escalier yoo xam ne suñu liggéey bare dinañ mën a yëgal ay taamu si kaw di def liggéey.
Yeah, it perhaps looks a bit torn down, but what we feel is important that it lives its own life. They build another building in the courtyard and so on. So it's there. It's in good hands. Another project on the African continent is on the other side, in Eastern Africa, in Tanzania. Shelter house we've done in Moshi, that is close to Kilimanjaro. We were working with an orphanage project in the same city and contacted Kwieko, Kilimanjaro Women Information Exchange and Consultancy Organization that give legal aid to victims of domestic violence. They had no building, so they gave aid and consultation, but then the victims went back to the circumstances where they came from, so they asked us to design a building. We always start with to understand the hierarchy of the place, what's public, what's semi-public, what's private, and how do you use space. We get inspired by the local ways of buildings. We try to understand what's available. This was a courtyard that was a source of inspiration for our design as well. Of course, we tried to understand the site and the clients. These are the Kwieko staff that we work together with for the design. Everybody except us are local, and it's a dialogue. We learn a lot, and hopefully they as well. Here there's no local architects available, but in this case there was a local architect that we worked intensely with, and he was drawing the home of his grandmother, and this was also one of the sources of inspiration for the design. And of course the traditional Swahili house with the veranda and the passage and the rooms and the backyards and the kitchen and the bathroom in the back. This kind of veranda you'll see in our projects as well. This is one of the verandas you can see in the area. We tried to use low-tech sustainable solutions that could be repaired at the place. This is water heating. This is the view from the site if it's a clear weather, and of course we wanted to keep this view. This is the whole design. We unfortunately only have had money to build this part. This is a higher part for counseling and offices, and the veranda where you enter to the reception and go through another courtyard to a covered space and to the room, and in back there's kitchen and bathrooms and a central courtyard. The street is here, and we wanted to have a buffer zone between the street and the building. As said, we always work with models at this early stage with these very simple models that we can take in our suitcase, we can tear apart in a meeting, and we find it's a very good way of communicating. Then at a later stage there can be bigger models built. And the plan, very simple, with rooms for 4 persons and then covered outdoor spaces. Some pictures from the building site. This is split bamboo that we used for the doors, and again these bottles, this time it was wine, and some color and material samples that we did together with the builders and users. Then we got inspired by the kanga cloth that is commonly used in several parts of Africa, especially the eastern part, and these are the Swahili words, hakisawa kwa wote ni msingi wa maendeleo. Equal rights for all are the basis of development. This is a kanga cloth for the Kwieko. There is their logo, and we changed the colors a bit. This is our interpretation of their cloth, and did it to a gate of the building, giving the identity. Now it's all green here, so this picture was taken what was just opened. Natural light through the roof, natural light to the bathroom, both through the roof and the wall. This time we used banana leaves as the insulator ceiling, and also natural light there. And here you can see some of these very low-tech additions to the building. Then a project I'm working at the moment. I was there last Friday on the building site. Some of these pictures are from that time. In Finland, same principles, very different situation in many ways. Here I wanted to use massive materials, which is not very common in Finland, massive poroton bricks for the wet spaces, or like bathrooms, and otherwise aspen logs. I was really happy to hear about the aspen. I haven't heard about anybody doing aspen log buildings before. It's the client is having she's allergic to very many materials, and she slept with different wood materials, and aspen was the best. It had very little terpenes, pains, and it's soft in a way that was good for her. I have been able to have extremely good carpenters and extremely good dialogues, and we are coming up with lots of details here, just thinking of what was done in the courtyard here during the coffee break, and here's some building examples. This artist, she's a ceramist. She will do some of the ornaments in the cladding. She has been, now when I've been here, she has been emailing me. She's will do this work next week, and she's all nervous, but she sent different sketches for it, and it will be all right, but she will do that. And this is perhaps very common. I saw lots of this kind of things yesterday, but in Finland we very seldom see this kind of detailing, and it has been a pure pleasure to be able to work with this kind of handicrafts, which I think that we are longing at today. I think it was so clearly seen during the pandemic that we long to do something with our hands, to understand what things are done out of, and therefore I think also massive materials is something very natural for us. So yeah, it will be ready before Christmas, I hope. And the last project, which is an installation that we have been doing in Rovaniemi, northern Finland, together with Saija and Helena again. We were invited to do an installation out of snow and ice. There were lots of architects and artists throughout the world that were invited, and we were paired with an artist. We were paired with an American artist, Robert Barry. And since I was thinking that can I take this to I wanted to choose a very different project for today, and this one I chose because of our traditional way of doing these ice lanterns. I don't know if anybody of you have it. If you're a warmer climate, perhaps not, but we fill a bucket with ice and take out the water before it has freezed completely, and put a candle in it and use it like this. And this was our source of inspiration when we wanted to do it in really large scale. We've never seen it before, nor actually after. And it was quite a warm winter, so we were a bit unsure. The day before the opening, we took the water out, and we were not sure if the ice would be thick enough, but fortunately it was. I took the mold away and did the openings for the doors. Quite an amazing feeling to enter an ice cube. It was a different smell, a different acoustics, and it was much warmer inside the ice. And it was cracking a bit like marble. So there were 5 of them, and then the words designed by the artist Robert Barry were carved out and filled with snow and seen in different light conditions. And when the summer or spring came, everything melted away. No sign of that anymore. Thank you.